Hello, everyone. My name is Chris Riley. I'm the Public Engagement Information Manager for the Victor Valley Union High School District, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to our third live stream town hall of the school year. So without wasting any more time, I'm just going to go ahead and start introducing our panel, and I'm going to start with our superintendent, Dr. Ron Williams.
Oh, thank you very much, Chris. It's a pleasure to be here. I know that we've got the smoke that's out there a little bit at this particular time, but we're all happy to be here, and I want to thank all of our community that's participating.
Okay, and we also are going to be joined by our assistant superintendents, and I'm going to start with business services, and that is Dr. Antoine Hawkins. How are you doing, Dr. Hawkins?
Good afternoon, Mr. Riley. Welcome to our community. It's a good pleasure to be here this evening.
All right, thank you, Dr. Hawkins. And educational services, that's Dr. Ramoni Yee. Hi, Dr. Yee, how are you?
I'm good, Mr. Riley. How are you doing?
Fantastic, thanks.
Great to be here.
All right, and we have from the Victor Valley Teachers Association, Anita Tucker, President Anita Tucker. How are you doing, Anita Tucker?
I'm doing great, and I'm excited to see our parents and community and our students. So thank you very much for allowing me to be part of this.
All right, thank you. And we have our other employee association president, and that is the president of the local chapter of the California School Employees Association. That is Tanya Martin. Hi, Tanya, how are you?
I'm good. Hello, everyone. Happy to be here and happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you all for being with us. Now, we are usually joined also by our Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources, Dr. Ramiro Rubalcaba. Dr. Rubalcaba was going to join us remotely from his home in Rancho Cucamonga, and as you can imagine, it might be slow going getting down to 15 right now, given the fire down there, which I believe they're calling the South Fire. Just to give you a real quick update on that, the most recent information we have is from 4:11 p.m. 300 acres burned, 0% contained. I imagine anyone in our area is smelling the smoke. Maybe it's burning your eyes a little bit. We'll talk a little bit about that as we get through the live stream here. But let's start off with kind of some of the latest news that we have given our COVID-19 situation. And I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Williams to talk more about that.
Oh, thank you so very much, Chris. I'm going to give you a little updates in regards. The Pfizer vaccine has been fully approved by the FDA. But also, let me just stop and sit down and say, if there's questions that you have, please send them in to Chris. And if not, just put them in our chat and we can respond to them immediately after you send them in shortly. As well as vaccines are free and safe for individuals 12 and up. So if a student is 12 years of age or up, they can go to your, you can go just about, oops, I'm getting a call. So I will, so you can get your vaccines at, CVS, Walgreens, any of the places that give those out. The district will hold vaccine events at our school sites in September and October. Dr. Rubalcaba can share that with you a little bit later on. And vaccine is not required to attend schools. At this particular point in time, we are not requiring students to have vaccines at this time. All students and staff are required to wear face coverings that cover both their nose and their mouth indoors whenever students are present. What that's basically saying is that during classes, teachers and students will have face coverings on that covers their nose and their mouth at that time. And face covering is optional outside. When students are on the outside, it's optional whether they have to wear face covering. And for vaccinated staff members, masks are optional at our facilities when students are not present. When students are not present, face covering is optional for staff. And the state of California has recently mandated that all staff must either get a COVID-19 vaccination or get tested weekly for COVID-19. Our testing occurs every Tuesday. We call it Testing Tuesday. And the district will host free testing for students and staff at school sites every Tuesday.
All right. And then just to add, as far as our symptom screening, you may remember that we had to do symptom screening on a regular basis at one point. That is no longer required. However, we do ask that if you're feeling sick, please stay home. And that includes any of those classic COVID symptoms, shortness of breath, cough, sore throat. There's a number of symptoms that are associated with COVID-19. Over the time that the virus has existed, they've kind of expanded the possible symptoms. Obviously, fever is a big one. If you have a fever, please stay home regardless. I mean, because that means you're sick in some way. And then obviously, they've even included things like diarrhea to be part of one of the symptoms. So it can be a broad spectrum of symptoms that are associated with COVID-19. But bottom line, if you're sick, please stay home. So we're going to go ahead and get into some of the questions. And it's funny. I was talking about the smoke, and someone texted me and said, "Are you okay?" Yes, I'm okay. If my eyes look a little red, it's because it is a little bit smoky out there, and I mean, you can smell the smoke even inside. So we do hope it gets better. I do want to give you a little update on that, because I was actually communicating with the PIO for the Air Quality Management District and just asking, what does he think about the possibility of bad air quality tomorrow? And he just said it's too early to tell. The fire hasn't grown enough where we can say we think it's going to persist tomorrow, especially if they get a handle on it overnight. He sent out a smoke advisory. He said he amended the advisory to reflect the new fire's impacts. So again, this fire is relatively new. It's burned 300 acres pretty quickly. It could go either way. They could get it under control, and maybe we're not looking at a bad situation tomorrow, but maybe they don't get it under control and it gets worse. We'll just have to see what happens, and we'll certainly have our thoughts and prayers with our brave firefighters as they fight the blaze. So moving on to questions that we've received. I guess I'll start with an email question that I got that I don't know why do we get a laugh react? Okay, so I'll move on to a question that we got about the fire itself. And it said, are we going to have to cancel school tomorrow due to air quality? Well, based on what I've already said, the answer is we don't really know at this point. This is a fluid situation, as we would say. It's possible that some outdoor activities could be canceled, but not school canceled altogether. And for more on that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Ron Williams.
And I think you addressed it at your response is appropriate at this particular point in time. We will be looking at all of the conditions that we have that not only applies this afternoon, but tomorrow as well. Tomorrow morning early, we will be looking at air quality and see what it may be. And at that particular point in time, we will make a final decision.
All right. Thank you very much. And I'm going to move on to a couple of other email questions that we got. One was, is there COVID in the schools? Well, that's a broad question. I guess the number one thing I would say is that there is potentially COVID anywhere. I mean, that's just the nature of the virus. What we are doing is taking several steps to control and hopefully prevent the virus from infecting our kids and our staff. But I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Williams for a little bit more about that.
Well, I agree with you 100% there, Mr. Riley. COVID exists, and it's out there, and we're trying to be as responsive as we possibly can to address this issue of COVID spreading. And but let's hear from the teachers. Mrs. Anita, what do you say in regards to that? In regards to, is there COVID out there?
Well, as teachers, we want to keep your child safe, keep our staff safe. We are teaching and reminding students of the protocols. I know it's difficult. It's hard for some of them. They haven't been in school maybe, for a year and a half. So coming back and wearing a mask and following protocols, it's hard. But your teachers are here. We're reminding them, wash your hands. We have wipes. So when they come in the classroom, they get a wipe. They can wipe off their desk area, their Chromebooks. We all have hand sanitizer. We're reminding them to wear their masks properly over their nose and their mouth. And sometimes you have a student needs a little bit of a break. We let them go outside, kind of, maybe take off the mask for a couple seconds and breathe. But we're kind of instilling these habits. There's no safe guarantee. We can just do the most we can to keep everybody safe. And, the staff is trained on the protocols. We're trying to instill that for the students. I've been really happy that we've been able to have vaccine clinics so that our staff has had the opportunity to be vaccinated. Our students and our families have been able to have the opportunity to get vaccinated. And pretty much we're all, preaching the message, Victor Valley Union High School District cares. We want to make sure that we keep everyone as safe as we can. And if there is a situation where somebody has COVID or there's this, someone thinks they might, we want to make sure that they're following, the protocols. We send them to the office, contact the parent, do contact tracing. And that's what the district is doing in the sites, pretty much so that we can keep everything as safe as possible.
Okay, thank you, Anita. And we are now joined by Dr. Ramiro Rubalcaba. He is our Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources, and apparently he has made it. He made it through the flames. I don't know if he literally went through the flames, but Dr. Rubalcaba, how are you doing?
Doing great. Thank you for having me. Happy to be here to share information with you all and answer any questions you might have. There was a fire on the 15 freeway. I stopped for a few minutes to help out, put it out, and I wanted to make it clear. So my apologies for being late.
Okay. And Dr. Rubalcaba, also, just in case we have some folks who might want to ask their question in Espanol, maybe you can give a little message to them as well.
Buenas tardes a todos, bienvenidos. El propósito de esta junta es para compartir información y si tienen preguntas en español, pueden mandarlas al correo electrónico que aparece aquí en pantalla y con mucho gusto les contestamos sus preguntas. Es kriley@vvuhsd.org.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so I want to go to the last of our email questions, and that was one of our parents of a high school student said that at their high school there had been some fights since school started, and they were just concerned from a safety perspective about some fighting that was happening on campus. And Dr. Williams, is there anything you'd want to say about that?
Yes, we will have those situations will occur. And, we're being as responsive as we possibly can to address those. And that's what we are. Dr. Rubalcaba, is there anything that you would like to add to that?
Yeah, I think it's really important to note that many of our students have not been in a school setting for almost 2 years. And we're going to have challenges with reacclimating. Some students and families are going through PTSD and just managing a variety of emotions, experiences, realities of losing loved ones or having loved ones sick, losing employment. And there's a lot of challenges that are being brought to the table. And our focus is really on prevention. And there are a number of things from emphasizing the importance of relationships through an MTSS, multi-tier system support, positive behavior interventions and support, and other restorative practices. We are investing in clinical social workers to help meet those needs, along with partnerships with the Sheriff's Department. In the event we do have incidents, there's a very quick response, but the focus really is prevention. And we want to emphasize that safety is not just management's responsibility, it's everyone's responsibility. If you see something, you say something, and if we can prevent a fight, we're going to rely on those relationships. And for that information to flow, whether it's a classified employee, a teacher, a counselor, an administrator, your principal, together we can prevent those things from happening. And we want to be progressive in our approach. when we have students who are good students who sometimes make bad decisions, and we want to discipline them appropriately and progressively. So those are some things to keep in mind, but safety is a top priority. We just have to be patient when these things happen and understanding.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Rubalcaba. So I do have some more email questions that are coming in, quite a few actually. Okay, so we have one from Rita. Oh no, I'm sorry. Rita was the one who asked about the air quality. We have Tamika. Tamika says she's concerned about cleaning desk and chairs for the next class in such a short time. I think she might be under the impression that the teachers have to do all of that cleaning to get all the desk and chairs clean for the next class. She also said that she's heard there's a number of COVID cases at Silverado. I don't know if that's true. I don't know the actual case data. I can say that in the district we have had COVID cases, and we've had a process for contact tracing and notifying parents, and the cabinet can shed more light on that. But how will the school help keep the students safe? How many times a week are the schools being cleaned?
Dr. Rubalcaba or Dr. Hawkins?
Sure. Why don't I start with the student desks part, and then I'll pass the baton to my colleague, Dr. Hawkins. So I think the best analogy is when you go to the grocery store, they often have these wipes that you grab from a container, and you're able to wipe down. You go to Target and those places, you're able to wipe down your shopping cart, and then you keep going. And then when you're done with your shopping cart, you put it back where it belongs. And usually an employee does a wiping process, but those wipes are still available for you to use as an additional precaution. Well, that's what we're doing in our schools. When a student walks in, those wipes are available so that they can grab it at their convenience. They can wipe down their workstation. And then when they leave, we're actually encouraging them to wipe it a second time. Then when a new class comes in, that student will repeat that process. And that's an additional precaution in addition to the regular cleaning schedule that happens on a daily basis on our campuses. Once again, it's not required by law or by a health order. However, because our district cares, we're making that available so that people are safer and also feel safer. And it's a way of us expressing symbolically we're doing this because we care. Dr. Hawkins, do you want to elaborate on the daily cleaning and what that schedule looks like?
Well, actually, Dr. Rubalcaba, you already touched on that we're cleaning on a daily basis. So if I were to get specific in terms of what that looks like wiping down, wiping down high touch point areas. Of course, we're cleaning restrooms, we're vacuuming, taking out trash and so forth. And in the event that we do have, or we've been identified in terms of a positive case in the classroom, we're moving towards utilizing solutions that have been approved by the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, the US EPA. We're using electrostatic cleaners and so forth, which is a solution that you've probably heard in the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, that on airlines, they were using the same type of technology. And what I want to leave you with is this. Our goal and point of focus is for you to know that we take the cleaning of our facilities very seriously, and we take your children's safety seriously, as well as our classified, certificated, all staff safety seriously when it comes to cleaning of our facilities.
Okay, thank you so much. So I have another question here from Jackie Reed, and she has students at Sims and at Silverado High School. She is asking what we're doing to prevent the spread of COVID. I think we've already addressed some of those things in the question right before this. She also said that she heard students don't have to wear a mask when outdoors. That is true, and that they are not required to socially distance during lunch. That is also true. She wants the school district to enforce masks at all times and social distancing at all times. She feels this is hard to do but it's the only way to prevent the spread. Well, I can just say generally that a lot of this stuff is statewide, and that the masks are just at this point not required outdoors, and neither is the social distancing. But I'll turn it over to Dr. Williams in the cabinet to speak a little bit more about that.
Yes, thank you, Chris. Yes, when it comes down to wearing the mask, et cetera, that is something that public health as well as our governor has made an executive order in regards to, and so we're following the guidelines that's being provided through our governor at this particular point in time. Dr. Yee, would you like to add anything to that?
I think that if it's a COVID-related topic, I think it was Dr. Rubicava actually that might have a better answer than I at this time.
Okay, Dr. Rubicava.
No problem. So Dr. Williams is right. These are guidelines that the Department of Public Health, Cal OSHA, and the governor have set forth for us to follow. But that does not mean that you as a parent and a family cannot take additional precautions to keep yourself safe. That is your decision, whether you want to mask indoors and outdoors, you can do that. And in fact, when I've gone to visit campuses, I've been very impressed that there are hundreds of students wearing their mask even outdoors while standing in line for their lunch. They take it off to eat, but they are social distancing as well. It's not required of them, but I'm assuming that their families have really encouraged them and said, hey, this is important to our family. As an example, we have someone who's immunocompromised at home. So you want to make sure that you're doing those things so you don't bring it back home. Another decision that is totally an individual parent guardian decision is whether students are vaccinated, and that applies to staff as well. It's an individual decision. We cannot force that. It's not a requirement by law for students or staff at this time. But what we are doing is making it easy, convenient, and accessible by offering vaccine events at all of our sites. In September and October alone, we are offering 14 events where you can visit one of our campuses and receive the vaccine if you choose to. So each family should make the best choices for them.
Okay, and on that note, I see that we've got some 30 comments right now, and I still have 2 emails we haven't gotten to. So I'm going to try to kick it into high gear a little bit here. One is Brittany. She says she has many concerns about the vaccine. She says she supports keeping people healthy and safe, but what concerns her is the force of the vaccine on students or people in general. Can you help me get more information and clarification? Okay, well, let me just say that no one is at this point forcing anyone to get the vaccine, and this dovetails into what Dr. Rubalcaba was just talking about. You are not forced to get the vaccine. We would like to give you the opportunity to get the vaccine if you would choose to do so. I can say personally, I got the shot. Many of us have gotten the shot. I got it back in April. I survived. I'm okay, feeling great, better than ever. So, but again, it's a personal choice. I do want to note, as we said at the top here, it has been fully approved by the Food and Drug Administration. I know that that was one of the hurdles that one of the problems that some people had was that it was like emergency approved, but not officially approved. It has been officially fully approved by the FDA. So I can tell you that I personally believe that it's safe and effective. But at this point, it is your choice. It is your choice, and we're not forcing anyone to do anything. I do want to just keep it moving here. A question about the ASVAB, the ASVAB, which is like a test to get into the military. This person says that they were told the ASVAB is no longer being given at university prep. I don't know if that's true. That's a school site level question, and maybe we can't speak to that. But as that is curriculum instruction, maybe Dr. Yee would like to say something.
Yes, I'm not aware of that, so I will need to go ahead and find out and get back to the parent. So I will work with Mr. Riley to go ahead and make sure I provide the parent with that answer.
Awesome. Okay, thanks, Dr. Yee. I will just forward that email to you. Okay, so now we're just going to move on to our questions that are in the live chat. And we have Richard Gonzalez helping us behind the scenes. And he is the one who kind of wades through and moderates these questions. So Richard, go ahead and give us what you got. Okay, Brenda, are you students and parents being notified when student has been confirmed positive?
Okay, Dr. Rubicaba.
Yes, the answer is yes. So when you do have a positive case in a classroom, uh, the first students that are notified by a phone call are those who are direct exposures. If you've been within a positive case within 6 feet or 15 minutes or greater, you are direct exposure, and then we take immediate action on that. But then everyone in that class and any class that that positive case attended also receives either an email or a letter, very much like when in elementary, if a student had lice in a classroom, a letter was sent out saying there was a case, you may have been exposed, please monitor for symptoms. So we do those notifications, although it's not required of us, we do it because we believe it's the right thing to do and because we care. So yes, you are notified.
Okay, thank you very much. Next question. Okay, this is Jackie Aparicio Michelle or Michael. This is not COVID related, but who can address this? I know Victor Elementary started today, and it was definitely congested today to pick up my student at Lakeview. It took me 40 minutes till I had to walk to her. Endeavor parents were making it worse by trying to make a left onto Huerta Street and not letting us through. Can someone address this situation so it doesn't repeat next Wednesday?
Well, thank you so very much. I will, reach out to Victor Elementary School District in regards to the traffic issues over there with Lakeview and the school that's up on the hill. It's close in proximity, but I will be more than happy to reach out to them tomorrow.
Okay, thanks a lot. Okay, Philip Williams, heard from multiple students that masks at Silverado are running low.
Dr. Rubicaba?
No, that is not accurate. In fact, Kathleen Hardy, our risk manager, just sent, I think, another like 20,000 to Silverado. We have hundreds of thousands of masks in stock, both reusable and disposable. So that is not accurate. We have plenty of masks available for all of our students and staff.
Great. Okay, next question. Okay, this is David Herrera. Is the district heading towards mandating vaccines to eligible students? No. Universities are already enforcing it. Why is the district taking so long to do so? Well, that part is harder to answer, I suppose. But it's more of a statewide thing, and we are kind of taking our cues from state and county public health. But I will hand it over to Dr. Williams in the cabinet to elaborate on that.
Okay, Dr. Rubicaba, you would like to address it? Go ahead.
Sure. So you're right. Universities, private industry are mandating that employees and students be fully vaccinated in order to attend in person. It's a little bit different for K-12 public schools and the such. Our mandated vaccines are driven by the state, and that would require legislative action, very much like tuberculosis, MMR and the such. So we are taking our directives and guidance from the state. I think it's fair to say that may be happening in the near future. However, at this moment in time, it is not required legally, neither of students nor of staff in educational settings that are pre-K through 12th grade. But stay tuned because that may be subject to change.
Right. And when, the question of are we heading towards mandating it, just us as a district, I mean, that's an easy no. It's more of a statewide thing. But as Dr. Rubalcaba said, we may be seeing a statewide mandate, and there are different opinions on that. I'm happy to see so many parents who want to keep their kids safe and are very concerned about this. But we have parents on the other side who say, I don't want the vaccine. They have concerns about the vaccine. We have to be sensitive to all of those stakeholder concerns. Okay, moving on to the next question. Okay, Jessica Barrientos, who is an employee of our district, but also a parent. So, okay, Jessica, hello. My son is an 8th grader and comes home starving every day. He tells me food is not the best. How can kids get better meals? Well, I mean, I've sampled some of the food, and I got to say it's not that bad, maybe, but my tastes are different from your son's, I suppose. So I'll turn it over to Dr. Williams in the cabinet for more on that.
Oh, well, something we're trying to provide the best food that we possibly can at this particular point in time. And the food, I've eaten the food as well, and no problems there. I'm not sure exactly when the kid says the food is not the best, because I think that we provide some of the best food that we possibly can. But I will share the concern with our nutrition director of nutritional services. Dr. Hawkins, would you like to address it at all?
No, Dr. Williams, I think you've done a good, you've given a good answer.
Okay, thank you.
All
But
right.
no, we're definitely trying to address our meals and trying to make sure that they are very, very nutritious, as well as appetizing for the students. And so, but I will share it with the director.
Yeah, and I do want to say that there is one of the concerns of feeding kids. I mean, so if you think about it like this, there are a lot of federally mandated nutritional guidelines for food, and there's all these different requirements. So, in other words, like the meal service folks can't just decide, well, this is tasty, we're going to give this to the kids. That's unfortunately not the way it works. There are many different requirements that the food has to meet, and in addition to meeting those requirements, then has to be tasty and appetizing to the kids. And on top of that, it has to be something that can be prepared en masse every day for thousands of kids. So you can see how it's a bit of a challenge, but I think our food service folks are doing the very best they can with that. So let's get on to the next question. Okay, this is Karina Romero. Had there been any student that have tested positive with COVID in Adelanto High School or any of our school district?
Dr. Rubacaba?
The short answer, Karina, is yes. We have had students at each of our sites, at least one or more cases at each of our sites. And that's an unfortunate reality of, returning to in-person. Students are socializing and they're excited to see each other. A lot of the cases are actually happening away from the school. So that's important to note as well. But the short answer is yes, we've had at least one case or more at each of our sites.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Rubalcaba. All right, next question. This is coming in from Barbara Whittington. Can we also see about getting the police to go to different bus stops to help with traffic? I took my high schooler to the bus stop and 2 cars never stopped for the sign and almost hit children.
Well, we apologize for, the people that was driving the other 2 vehicles. And if you could give us an idea of where the bus stop would be, that would be appreciated. And we will see what we can do in regards to getting those additional eyes out there to look at that.
Okay, thank you so much.
Before we move on, if I may, for our community, just to let them know about some new regulations and guidelines as established by the California Department of Highway Patrol. If you've noticed that whenever a school bus is picking up students on a public roadway, they extend a stop sign out on the side of the bus, which is an indication for all pedestrian type vehicle traffic to stop, to either allow students to cross the street safely in front of the driver or to board on the side of the road. One of the programs that's in place throughout the state is that if you see an individual and you can take their license plate down that they've refused to stop when those red bus signs or stop signs are extended, if you contact the California Department of Highway Patrol, your local office, they will take appropriate action, and they themselves will dispatch a unit out in areas that have been deemed problematic. So if it's going on consistently, call your local California Highway Patrol. If you can get the license plate number, give them the license plate number. They have an assigned what they call state school bus officer, which is actually a Department of Highway Patrol patrol officer who's post-certified, and they will get on top of that. That's a very, very serious infraction. We've had students injured by people, not in our district, but throughout the state of California, by individuals not obeying the law and stopping. So I would encourage everyone in our community to utilize that as an option.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Hawkins. All right, next question. Okay, Terry Ray, my son said his bus is very compacted that they have to sit 3 to a seat. High school students are too big to be sitting 3 to a seat and it's not safe. He has fallen off the seat in the middle of the aisle before when the bus makes a turn. There are so many students that the bus driver doesn't really enforce the mask rule. Well, first of all, I just want to say that, sometimes we don't know exactly what you're describing, and we're kind of hearing it third hand from, your child to you, now to us. But assuming that this is what's going on, we'll pass it off to Dr. Williams in the cabinet to talk
Okay,
about.
Dr. Hawkins.
So if your child has articulated to you that they're having a challenge on the school bus sitting safely, first point of contact would be the school bus driver to articulate your concern to the school bus driver so that the student can maybe be reassigned to a seat where students, would sit on the seat 3 to a seat appropriately in a safe condition. If that does not bring resolve, then I definitely would encourage you to contact our director of transportation, Mr. Tiger, or his supervisor that's under him, Ms. Smith, and I assure you it will be handled. It is not okay, and we are very, very serious about the safe transporting of our students. In actuality, a student falling out of a school bus seat while the bus is in motion can be deemed a school bus accident. The district invests a lot in our drivers, over 40 hours per year of in-service that they go through to make sure that they're engaging in the most safe practices when it comes to transporting our most precious cargo. So start at that point first with the school bus driver. I'm sure, I would hope that the school bus driver would make some arrangements. Now, to the point of overcrowding, we do understand that some of our routes are impacted in terms of where we are transporting students from one point of the city to a school. We're in the process of doing a further analysis to see how we need to potentially scale up our driving force to make sure that we are maximizing public dollars when it comes to school buses and drivers, but that we're also transporting the students safely. So start there, and I'm quite sure you have a resolution. All things fail, call my office, and I'll make sure that it's handled.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Hawkins. Okay, what else do we have here? Okay, this is Marco Bell. How come teachers were not ready to start school at Lakeview on August 9th? I spent 2 days trying to get my daughter in the right classes. I was told by the front desk that they were short-staffed on teachers due to COVID. Were there not enough subs to fill until the teachers returned from COVID? Okay, well, I want to unpack this just a little bit here, saying that the teachers were not ready to start school. I do want to say that I think our teachers were ready. I mean, they were chomping at the bit to get back to work. And so I would not blame this on the teachers. I do think that there were some maybe some organizational issues in just getting the kids registered for their classes and getting them enrolled. And those are things that we're very much aware of and that we've continued to address. And I think it's gotten quite a bit better. But having said all that, I'll hand it over to Dr. Williams and the cabinet.
Well, I want to thank all of the parents and the students that did show up on August 9th and 10th and 11th and 12th. We really appreciate their time and energy and effort to starting that very first day. We've tried to be responsive to our parents as well as to our students. And if that's the experience that that student had, I would like to personally apologize to that student because that's not the intent. Lakeview has done an outstanding job. I think at the beginning of the school year, I think they had about 900 students there that day, and they're doing the best that they possibly can under the circumstances. And we appreciate the work that they're doing. So like I said, I would like to apologize for that if that's the impression that you had. But we believe in all of our schools being top-notch schools. Lakeview has an outstanding middle college program there. And so we're very excited for Lakeview Middle College program.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. And as that touched on some things with enrollment and curriculum and instruction, Dr. Yee, I don't know if you'd like to say anything about that. And Richard, maybe you can pop that question up there again. Dr. Yee, did you have anything to add?
With regards to the last question, Mr. Riley?
Yes.
Usually in the very beginning of the year, I know even in a non-pandemic year, usually, counselors are actually our heroes in their office because they're so busy in the beginning of the year trying to make sure that students are in the right classes, making sure they're balancing because we do have, we can only sit so many students in the classroom. So it takes a few weeks to really get all of that kinks out and making sure that students have the classes that they're supposed to have. So again, going back to what Dr. Williams said, thank you for your patience and your understanding. Again, it makes it even more difficult, in a pandemic year to do all that. So just appreciation to our counselors for the work, and also the leaders and our teachers and our staff to really just working together to ensure that our students are being served and that our parents are absolutely happy with our service.
All right, great. Thanks a lot. And we hope that things are going a bit smoother now than they were at the very beginning. And I'm sure they are. That's what I've been hearing out there from Dr. Yee and others who have been walking the campuses. Okay, this is Barbara again. I just want to say that Silverado did a great job. The parent meeting they had for us on the first day was so informative. Well, bravo, Silverado. And thank you, Barbara, for the nice comment. Okay, what else do we got here? Okay, Patty Penrose, why is transportation not checking temps for student entering their bus? Well, first of all, symptom screening, as we said at the top here, is no longer a requirement, but I will hand it over to Dr. Williams and the cabinet to elaborate on that.
Okay, Dr. Rubalcaba and Dr. Hawkins, go ahead.
I'll just echo what Mr. Riley said. Symptom screening, buses, buildings, schools is no longer required. It was not recommended by the CDC. However, we are encouraging students, families, and staff to self-monitor at home, do your own symptom screening, and be responsible. If you're not feeling well, stay home. That's what illness time is for employees. We do have other options so students don't fall behind. Please don't visit our campus if you're not feeling well. Reschedule that visit, because the last thing we want is for you to get someone else sick, and we want you to stay home and get better. And I'll hand it over to my colleague, Dr. Hawkins.
Dr. Rubalcaba, you hit all the points. Nothing else needs to be said.
All right. Okay, so moving on to more questions here. Okay, this is Mirna Munguia. I was wondering, when is Adelanto District will be signing the intertransfer form? I'm not sure I understand. Okay, I think I do. So I think the question is maybe transferring from Adelanto Elementary School District into Victor Valley Union High School District. And I think this question is better answered by the Adelanto Elementary School District, unfortunately not by us. That's the question as I understand it. But if I'm wrong or anyone else wants to say any more about that, please take it away.
Well, I think that when it comes to the inter-district transfers, yeah, that would be something coming from Adelanto to us. And so I think that you addressed the question very clearly.
Right. And if it's the other way, if someone is transferring from us to somewhere else, all I can say is that we will certainly do that ASAP as soon as possible. That obviously this is a very busy time of year, the beginning of the year, and we kind of have a second surge of people coming into the district, of students coming into the district. Why? Because Adelanto Elementary School started school today, and so you have a lot of folks who maybe weren't aware that school started August 9th. I mean, I hate to say it, but then all of a sudden the little kids are in school. Well, we got to have big kids in school too. And unfortunately, we do not start at exactly the same day. But now that now that Victor Elementary is in school, people are acutely aware that we are back in school too. So again, it's just a little bit of a second surge of enrollment going on. Okay, let's get to other questions here. Okay, Leanna Messer, who I believe is also a employee. Is it true that there are no more students being expelled?
Dr. Yee?
Yes. No, that is not true. Every situation occurs, and there's always different players and different ways in which things happen. So what we do is we follow a progressive discipline. When students are doing something that is egregious, that really, based on ed code, requires them to go through an expulsion process, we do that. We are very big on our PBIS, positive behavior interventions and supports. We are doing some restorative practices as well too. Our goal is to really support our students and ensure that we are meeting their needs, and especially during this difficult time as well. Again, going back to my comments in earlier town halls, is It is about our student learning, but it's also about their well-being. And we really, really have to know. Students generally don't act out because they want to. They generally don't wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to just get in trouble. So what we have to do is really know our student stories, know what they're coming with, what supports that they need, provide them those resources. And so that is our goal. But absolutely, if students have done something that violates ed code that really warrants an expulsion, we will go ahead and go through with the process.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry, sorry you heard me talking during that question there. I realized my mic wasn't muted. Okay, let's go on to our next question here. Okay, Danelle Bagley-Tess, thank you for giving parents the choice on masking outside and respecting that not all parents intend to vaccinate their children. Well, you're welcome. And again, there are two sides to all of these things. I mean, we have folks saying, they want masking all the time. We have some folks saying they don't. We have folks saying, why aren't we requiring vaccination? We have some folks saying, we're thankful that we're not requiring it. So again, there's just many different opinions out there, and we have to, we can't keep everyone happy, but we'll just try to do our best and do the right thing. Okay, let's go on to the next question. Please explain what restorative practices mean. Okay, well, that's good. Sometimes we use language that might not be, totally obvious to the layperson. So let's explain that.
Okay, so I'm sorry. Yes, restorative practices. So when a situation occurs at school, whether it's a conflict between one student and another, what we do is our counselors, our administrators, our teachers would actually meet with the students to really find out at the core of where the problem originated. Was it something on Facebook? Was it a situation that they were still like disgruntled about that happened like last year? So restorative practices is all about restoring the relationship. We usually use like a 4-question, tell me what happened, what have you thought about ever since? What have you thought about now? And what do we need to do to make sure that we restore this relationship between you two? Because our kids are our kids, and as adults, we've had at least experiences where we know how to address conflict with each other. But our students are still learning, and they're teenagers. So we want to go ahead and make sure that we always, number one, teach them what restorative practices is. We give an opportunity to talk together, and we, as an adult, would facilitate that process. So that's, in a nutshell, that's what restorative practices is. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Yee. And, we do like our jargon in education. We also like our acronyms and initials. We love those things. So sometimes if you catch us using some language like that, it's great to ask those clarifying questions. We appreciate that, Julia. Okay, so let's go on to our next question. Okay, this is Rita. Can we get a crossing guard at Silverado High School, and a signal light would be good? And I'm going to, if we can just keep that up there, I have another one in an email from Tamika, and she says that at Silverado, it's very hard when there's traffic coming from Palmdale Road and traffic from Luna Street. Parents are always rushing to get in and out, especially with Cobalt right in the back of Silverado High. How can traffic get better? I do want to say broadly that we are aware of the traffic issues. Some of it is beyond our sphere of influence. However, our district has been in contact with the city manager and to try to address some of these things as much as we can. So I'll hand it over to Dr. Williams in the cabinet.
Yes, we've been working with the city manager in this process, not so much as with Silverado, but with Sims in particular, since they're located behind it. So that is an issue that we are aware of, that we're trying to address with the parking coming in from Sims and doing a loop around. But we're looking at it at this particular point in time, and I would sit down and says within the next week or two, we should have a solution to that. But I agree. For Silverado, it would be great to have a crossing guard. You see them at elementary schools. Rarely do you see a crossing guard at the high school level, though.
Okay, and we've got so many questions that we got to try to get through, and we're only scheduled for another 10 minutes. So Zassi, I think is how you pronounce that name. In Adelanto High School, kids are not having the right distance inside the class and also not have the division with plastic as some other schools. Don't you think they are in risk this way of getting sick if someone is feeling sick around them? Okay, so the distance thing is no longer required, so that is just not a common thing in schools right now. In terms of the plastic, I know that is available. There may be some differential application of that in classes, but I'll go ahead and hand that over to you guys to elaborate on that.
Okay, Dr. Rubakabe, would you like to address that? Go ahead.
Yeah, so Mr. Riley addressed the first part of that question in that social distancing is not required. However, face covering is required at all times while indoors. As far as the desk shields, which is the plastic you're referring to, that is an additional precaution that is not required. And we've left it at the discretion of each teacher because each classroom is different. So for example, it may be absolutely appropriate in an English room where each student is writing and paying attention and engaged in learning at a desk. But in a construction class or an auto class, the desk shield can't be taken around with them, to work on a car as an example. Or for PE, the desk shield doesn't apply. There may be students that have certain things in their IEP that does not allow for those types of things that may impede their ability to engage in the learning process. So it's on a case-by-case basis, and we trust our teachers that they will use their best discretion to make them available to their students appropriately. But just so the community knows, the district, because it cares, has invested in approximately 13, 14, 15,000 of those desk shields that are available to be utilized on a daily basis.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Rubakabe. And let's take a look at some more questions. They just keep coming in. Okay, Philip, what will happen if students don't want to wear a mask?
Dr. Rubakabe.
My pleasure. So yeah, that is going to happen, and it has happened. Here's the bottom line. It is the law. It is an order by the Department of Public Health, by the governor, and it is a requirement, period. Anyone, student or staff, visitor, coming into an indoor K-12 setting must wear a mask. So here's what happens if they don't. Number one, we will provide them a disposable or reusable mask on the spot and say, here you go, thank you for covering and following our policy and directives. If they refuse, then unfortunately, a couple things happen. The discipline process will start for students, or for the adults, they will be denied entry into our facilities. That's just a fact. It is required. It is not optional. The board, the superintendent, no one can not follow that directive by the Department of Public Health, that order. There are some options for students who do not want to wear a mask, and that is independent studies and the virtual academy. But if you're going to come into a K-12 setting, you will be required to wear a mask unless you have a medical exemption. And a medical exemption must come from a medical practitioner. A parent cannot self-attest for a student, for their own child. And even those students who are medically exempt are required to wear a face shield with a drape as an alternative.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Rubakabe. Okay, they just keep coming. Elder Rex Webster Sr. I would like to see more security at Victor Valley High. What are the chances of that happening?
Well, we would love to see additional security there, but we have limitations as to, how much security staff that we can put at the school. We have an SRO. I think we have about 6 or 7 security guards there as well. So we've got about 9 security staff that we have at Victor Valley High School now. And that's about where we're at capacity there, because I think it's like a 250 or 350 to 1 ratio at that school at this particular point in time. But we're looking at it. So we'll definitely keep that in mind. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Williams. And let's get to some more questions. Oh, a long one. Marco Bell, my niece moved in with us a few years ago. She came from LAUSD, where she was making every letter in the alphabet except A and B. Since she has been at Lakeview, she has become an almost straight A student. She has a couple of B's here and there. The structure and after-school programs have not only restored her interest in learning, but also her self-esteem. She's changed so much in a good way Thank you for helping us help her. Well, thank you, Marco. We love to hear good comments like that. And, congratulations to you and your family, and continued success. Okay. What else do we have here? Okay, Richard is, so just so you know, we have, between the YouTube and Facebook streams, we have 86 comments. So Richard Gonzalez, as I said, is kind of helping us navigate here. Stay real. Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Real. Due to the current fire and the thickness of the smoke, is there a possibility the schools will close tomorrow? Well, we did talk about this a little bit at the top. It is possible, but right now we do not know the severity of the fire, and we will just have to continue to assess the situation. It's what we would call a fluid situation, because it's a fire. It's unpredictable. And, all of us who were here in 2015, 16, whatever year that was, remember the Blue Cut fire, which necessitated a closure of school for some 2 or 3 days. And it was really bad. And we hope it does not approach anything like that level. But Dr. Williams, do you want to talk a little bit about that experience and just kind of what we do in this situation?
Yes. With the smoke that we're having from down the hill, we're going to be monitoring that this evening, as well as later on tonight, and as well as tomorrow as well. And we will make a decision after reviewing the information that we have at that particular point in time. But we will, we look at, the air is very, very important to us as well. And safety is one of our number one priorities in our district. And so we will be taking a very, very close look at the quality of air, and we'll be making a decision tomorrow morning.
I can say that the smell of smoke has dissipated a little bit around here, or maybe I've just gotten used to it. I don't know. But I did, while Dr. Williams was talking, take a quick look at the CAL FIRE website. We still have just an update of 300 acres burned with 0% containment. That update is nearly two hours old now. So there's not a lot we can tell you right now, but we just have to keep an eye on the situation and get the word out as quickly as we can. Okay, Richard, do we have anything else? Okay, Rita, is there a school nurse at Silverado High School yet?
Well, I'll start off the answer. I know that Tanya has been doing, Mrs. Martin has been doing all of our school nurse type duties. And so, Tanya, at this particular time, do we have a nurse over at Silverado?
No, there isn't, but there are some nurses in the process of being hired, so there will be one soon.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, we are working on that. So, okay, Richard, anything else you seeing in there? I know he's got a lot of comments to wade through here. Julia, thank you for the abundant supply of wipes in our classroom. Well, you're welcome, Julia. And let's see what else we have. Anything else? Okay, I guess a lot of the questions are duplicates. I'm going to check the email one more time, and if you're kind of just tuning in and there's something you really want to ask, we've gone through a gamut of questions over this hour, so you can go back and watch this at any time right from the beginning. Just go ahead and take a look and, see if your question has already been asked. So with that, and with not having a lot of brand new questions, having, I guess, a lot of things that are kind of duplicates of other things. Okay, Maggie Ortega, she says, sorry for my English. Well, I don't know what your first language is, Maggie, but we can speak to you in Spanish. But anyway, she says, I think someone is needed to direct the traffic in Adelanto High School because students cross in the middle of the street and cause too much traffic. Well, we've already talked a little bit about that. Maybe you would just like to say something. I'm guessing here that Maggie Ortega might be a Spanish speaker, but just for her or for anyone else who might want to hear this in Spanish, maybe you can talk a little bit about that, Dr. Rubalcaba, just for a minute or two.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Muchas personas han mencionado problemas con el tráfico en varias de nuestras escuelas. Y queremos informarles que hemos hablado con la ciudad, hemos hablado con el departamento de los sheriffs y estamos buscando soluciones para corregir lo que está pasando con el tráfico. Entonces queremos que sepan todos que sí sabemos el problema y sabemos la frustración que está causando y haremos todo lo posible para solucionar ese problema.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Rubalcaba. All right, well, let's go ahead and hand it over to Dr. Williams to close us out.
Well, not only just closing, I want to thank everyone for participating at this particular time. We appreciate you, charming in and listening to what we have to share. We'll give you the latest information, and I want to pass it over to Dr. Hawkins for him to say a few words in case if he would like to. Then we'll make sure we get it to everyone. Go ahead.
Well, again, we're just honored that we're able to come in to speak with you as our community, to answer your questions in a very robust way. And all I want to just focus and reiterate is that we are very, very cognizant of your needs and your concerns, and we will do everything in our power to make sure that we address everything that you've brought up to us as a district management team. Thank you so much, and have a good evening.
Okay. And with that, Anita, would you like to say something from the teachers?
I'm really honored as well to be here and represent our teachers in the district and counselors. We're here for your student, for you. We're excited to be back with your student, and it's the beginning of the year, so there's a lot of excitement, and we want to make this the best year ever for our students. Thank you so much.
Dr. Williams, you're muted.
Tanya, would you like to say a few words closing?
Just everyone have a good evening, and that's all for me.
Okay. And Dr. Yee?
Well, outside of just thanking everyone for joining us this evening, I wanted to also share with our parents and our community just an opportunity for you to provide us some feedback. Your voice is so important to every decision that we make that's going to impact our students. We did get some federal dollars, our ESSER 3 dollars, and please look out for a survey that we will be putting on our website probably around September the 16th to go ahead and gather some input from you on how we should best spend some monies. There are fiscal requirements as well as programmatic requirements. So the monies that we will receive needs to go to 3 areas: prevention and mitigation strategies. So it really relates to some of those safety measures that we're putting in place, the PPEs and things like that, so we can continue to purchase from this fund, those kinds of items. The other thing is learning loss mitigation. So just things in the classroom that's going to really help our students to make sure that they are academically successful. And then their third area is also all of the SEL. And SEL, like the acronym we talk about, stands for social emotional learning. We really want to make sure that the well-being of our students are taken care of. So that pot of money also can be used for that. So again, think about those programmatic requirements. And then when you see the survey, please just take a few minutes to give us some feedback. We would love that. Thank you.
Okay. And Dr. Rubalcaba?
Sure. I just, once again, thank you everyone for being a part of this. And I want to echo what one of the comments said earlier, thanking us for being able to help you help your student. And parents, guardians, you guys are the first and most important teacher, advocate that can keep your child safe and help your child succeed. So let us know how we can help you help every student to be successful.
Well,
Okay.
I just want to thank, our students, our staff, our community, because it means so very much for us to come to you and I know we've been doing this for a number of weeks, but it means it's so very important that we have the opportunity to come and share with you, because it seems as if every couple of weeks there is some new change that we're not aware of, that as the changes occur, we will be coming back to you as quickly as possible with that. And, so possibly in the next 2 weeks, we should be coming. We may come back to you earlier if there is any changes with public health.
Okay, thanks a lot, Dr. Williams. And thank you. You were all very informative and is greatly appreciated. Well, thank you, Yolanda, for tuning in. And I did get another email just as we were trying to close it out here I'm forwarding this to Dr. Yee because it's about curriculum and instruction. But just to summarize really quickly, this individual is asking you about two things: sexual education, which is there's certain state guided things that we do with sexual education. So you can get that information in a lot of places, but I have forwarded that to Dr. Yee so she can tell you more about that. Another is critical race theory, which has become quite the buzzword out there in the media. Critical race theory, refers to a lot of things in terms of how we approach education. However, there is not, I think sometimes people are under the impression that there's like a class called critical race theory that the kids are getting, and that's not the case. So I think there's kind of some misinformation out there. Students are being taught history and social studies in much the same way they have been in recent years. And obviously those courses will touch on issues of race and equality, but it is not probably not quite the same way it's being represented to you in the media right now. So, but anyway, we won't get into that whole can of worms right now because it's 6:06 and we're going to just close this out. And I want to thank our panel, Dr. Williams and everyone. And I want to thank everyone who tuned in. We have some students sometimes, which is always great. We have a lot of parents, of course, and we have staff participating as well, which is wonderful. So thank you to all of you for joining us. Have a great night.
Okay, bye-bye.